कालीकूर्चसमायुक्तमायाकूटोपदेशतः प्रणवार्थप्रबोधिन्यौ नमामि गुरुपादुके श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः क्रीं मात्रे नमः नमः सदसे Namaskarams to one and all. Yesterday I posted a video in Tamil with the title My Thoughts on Kundalini Yoga, and there have been some requests from various people in order to do it in English. So I am doing it right now. Well, let me make one thing very clear. I am not against Kundalini practices, and I myself am a Kundalini practitioner for that matter. Let me make that very clear. However, what I am trying to expose here and what I am opposing here is the overrated, over commercialized and blown out of proportions importance that is being given to Kundalini as if that is the only spiritual sadhana, or it is 100 times faster than any other sadhana. We have so many myths like this, and that is what I am going to speak about. So first of all, as I have mentioned in my previous videos, there is no mention of Kundalini in the Vedas, Upanishads. I cannot say Vedas because that is a huge vast text, but we consider Upanishads to be the authentic Vedasara. If it is not there in the Upanishads, then we consider it not to be valid. That is the basic principle of any Shastra, that is the basic principle of any Darshana, any school of thought in the Sanatana Dharmic system. So, if it is not there in the Upanishads, then it is not valid. So that is the question that the Astika schools of Sanatana Dharma is asking in order to validate anything. My voice and my pronunciation may be coming as a little bit funny because I have bitten my tongue a day before yesterday night and it's still healing by accident. So not healing by accident, bitten by accident, healing naturally. So that being stated, the process of Kundalini is not there in the Upanishadic thought. It is not there in the Bhagavad Gita. It is not even there in Yoga Sutra. The first ever mention, as far as I know and as far as I have verified with some learned scholars, is that the Mahim Mooladhare Kamapi Manipure Hutavaham and Sudadhara Saraihi Charana Yugalandar Vegalidai. So these two shlokas of Saundarya Lahari, they seem to be the first mention of the Kundalini in the Hindu Sanatana Dharma. So it was brought into the Hindu Sanatana Dharma by Adi Shankara, and it was brought to a very specific field. It was brought to a very specific mode of worship, that is Shakta worship. So again I confirm, Kundalini belongs to the Shaktas because all the deities representing the various chakras are Shaktis. First thing, that is Lakini, Dakini, Shakini, all these deities are there. So they are actually representative of the chakras and they are Shaktis. So it is Shakta tradition. First thing. Second thing, whether you take the 7-level Meru of the Kaula Upasana or you take the 9-level Meru of the Samayachara Upasana, you will find that that word Meru itself is indicative of the spinal cord. So both external worship of Kundalini and internal worship of Kundalini belongs to the Shaktas. First thing. Second thing, Shakta Vedanta is Advaita, and Yoga does not have an Advaitic approach. It only has a Dvaitic approach as far as Patanjali is concerned. So this Kundalini is blown out of proportion today with so many myths and so many confusions happening together with it. And as I have mentioned in my previous videos, in Brahma Sutra, Atato Brahma Jignasa, after this let us the desire for the knowledge of the Brahman. Jignasa is desire for knowledge. Jnatamicha jignasa. So desire for the knowledge of Brahman starts hereafter. This is how Brahma Sutra is starting. Whereas Yoga Sutra is starting as Ata Yoga Anushashanam, meaning hereafter the practice of yoga. So yoga, even according to Patanjali, is only a practice discipline. It is a sadhana and it is not a sadhya. What does this mean? Well, when we speak about liberation, liberation can be achieved only by realization or jnana. I don't want to say wisdom, but jnana. So jnana devatu kaivalyam. Only through jnana you will be able to attain liberation. So let us take it like this. We have four main paths that has been described. That is bhakti, karma, kriya and jnana, or bhakti yoga, karma yoga, kriya yoga or raja yoga, sivaraja yoga, vasi yoga, whatever you want to call it, and then finally jnana yoga. So now in bhakti yoga you are doing bhakti, you are doing devotion in order to achieve realization, and through realization you are achieving the ultimate liberation. Similarly, in karma yoga you are doing unattached action. You are achieving jnana through unattached action, and through jnana you are achieving liberation. And in kriya yoga you are attaining chitta ekagrata or oneness of mind through your practices, and through that jnana, through the holding and analysis of that jnana, you are attaining liberation. Now when it comes to jnana yoga, I am predominantly a jnana yogi. When it comes to jnana yoga, what happens is you are attaining jnana through jnana, and you are attaining liberation. So here the achievable and the achieving method are one and the same. The sadhya and the sadhana are one and the same for jnana yoga. No other path has this distinction. This is very, very important, because for the past 60-70 years, through all these new age gurus and yoga merchants, jnana yoga has been totally criticized and moved aside as some intellectual exercise, and they claim that directly through the kriya, directly through the manipulation of the energy, liberation can be achieved. This is a totally wrong statement, because energy does not have consciousness, energy does not have chaitanya. So when the chaitanya itself is absent, how can you realize? What is going to realize? That is my question, first question. Second, as far as Kundalini is concerned, it is not something that is very rare, or it is not something that you have to go or undergo all these practices in order to achieve. It is not like that. Because you go to any village festival, you will see many women who are getting avesha of Ambal, who are manifesting the energy of Ambal inside their body, and they will immediately start moving, and they will start shivering, they will start the body will start shaking, jumping up and down, shouting. All these things will happen. And if you carefully watch them, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, wherever you go, whichever village festival, whichever woman is getting this avesha, you will see that her hands will go like hoods like this. Naturally it will happen. Naturally the body will rise like that, like a serpent, like a snake, and the hood will go like that. This I have seen so many times in so many places. Who taught them? It is not like one person is seeing another person and doing. Everywhere it is the same phenomena. At one point of the time or the other, their behavior is so snake-like. So when those village instruments, that Pambai, Udukai, whatever, Damaru, whatever you call it in whichever place, is reaching a certain peak, it is creating an alchemy inside you, and your Kundalini works. Same thing with rock concerts. When that synergy is so good, certain things happen inside you and you feel as if some goosebumps are happening in your spine. That is Kundalini. In bhajana, when bhajana is happening, when kirtan is happening, when it is reaching a certain pitch, Kundalini works. So Kundalini is working for each and every person. This whole concept of opening the chakras, raising the Kundalini, bringing it here, bringing it there, all these things do exist, but they are overrated. First thing. Second thing. So first we saw that direct liberation through Kriya Yoga is not possible. Second, Kundalini is a natural concept. It is not something that is a great achievable. The moment you feel some tingling in your spine, you are not a Kundalini yogi. Second. Third and very important thing, this Kriya Yoga practice has been desensitized, has been stripped off all of the components of Sanatana Dharma today, because each chakra has a Adidevata and a Pratyadidevata, a Bija, a Vahana. All of these things are there. For example, Mooladhara Chakra, Ganapati, Swadhisthana Chakra, Varuna, Manipuraka Chakra, Vishnu. Like that. We have so many things associated with it. Then the Bijas are there. Then the Devata for those Bija mantras. Apart from that, the Adidevata, the Shaktis for each of the Kundalini chakras, everything is there. So, when this happens, what these Kundalini yogis are doing is they are almost agnostic. They don't care about idol worship. They don't care about traditional knowledge of the mantras. Nothing. Simply by doing some practice, the Kundalini is initiated. It is triggered. And when it is going up, it is doing certain things. But what is your understanding of why Kundalini should work in your Mooladhara chakra? Whom is the Kundalini energizing in the Mooladhara chakra? What are the mantric aspects? What are the Bija aspects that are working in your Kundalini Mooladhara chakra? Nobody will be able to answer this. Why is Mooladhara chakra having 4 petals? It is representative of the 4 amnayas of any chakra. Let it be, Kaula Shri chakra, or let it be this one, Samayachara Shri chakra, those amnayas. So which amnaya are you entering it from? So all these questions are coming. So you will not be able to understand Kundalini if you are not a Shakta. But this whole Shakta association to Kundalini has been removed in the modern age, and it has been replaced with so many secular or non-religious, disrespectful ideals, which is making this whole thing a farce. That is the first problem. Second problem, the first 3 points we saw, that is leading to one particular problem, that is Kundalini is common for everybody. It is not something very, very rare. Second thing, there is no direct enlightenment through Kundalini. And third thing, we are totally unaware of the various effects of Kundalini on the mantra shastras, on the devatas and other things, and it is becoming almost agnostic Kundalini sadhana. So because of these three reasons, the whole thing has become a farce. That is the first problem. Second issue is this: you cannot have one yoga separately, because this is some concept which Isha supports in theory, but in practice I don't know how much it is being supported. I think most of the other organizations will also claim that they are giving a wholesome approach for the mind, body, energy and emotions. So that is ego, embodiment, energy and emotions. So 4 E's we are giving support. All these things they can say. But practically, if you go inside any of these yoga merchant, any of these big name or small name organizations which require marketing, you will find that the importance given for Kriya Yoga is almost like 90 percentage. All the sadhana is geared only towards raising your Kundalini and maintaining it, without giving you the knowledge, without rooting your wisdom, without giving you proper explanation as to why this should be done, what is the mantric side of it. Because the moment you want to speak about this, you have to be a Shakta. You have to be initiated in Shakta mantras. You have to be initiated into Sri Chakra worship of either sect, either Saptama Varna or Navama Varna chakras, and you should be able to understand each chakra, each devata, their dhyana shwarupa, everything, in order to explain this, in order to even think about this. So none of this knowledge is available through these so-called yogic practitioners, and end of the day, what we are seeing here is simply some practices taken out of context. They will make you feel something because Kundalini is natural to everybody. You consider yourself as yogis, you consider that you are going to achieve something, and you go behind that person. So that is the problem. And why is this so? That question needs to be asked. Reason is, when I say Devi worship, Kulachara, Nitya Anushtana, or when I say Vedantic studies, or when I say Bhajana, or when I say Nama Sankirtana, all of these things requires changing your identity a lot. You have to become a fully practicing Hindu in order to do any of these things. That is, you cannot believe in some other god of some other religion, or you cannot say I don't believe in a god at all and do all of these things. Yoga is also like that. But unfortunately, what they have done is they have tried to secularize yoga, and in that process they have lost the roots of yoga, of Kriya Yoga. Now, Hatha Yoga is a different subject. People may get that doubt also. I am clarifying it. Hatha Yoga is a different subject. There are some books which came in the later time, because there is no mention of the asanas in Kundalini, in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. There is no mention of the asanas at all. Stiram Shukam Asanam, only one sutra is there. Everybody knows that. Beyond that, Patanjali has not told anything about the asanas. So after that, various physical positions from various schools of yoga came into practice, and during the early 1900s, 1920 something, a group of yogis, Hatha yogis, asana practicing yogis, they came together in South India, and they published a text called Yoga Deepika, and then another book called Yoga Pradipika. Two books were published. One book contained 108 asanas, and another book contained 308 asanas, which are nothing but the variations of the 108 asanas. So these asanas came from two different schools. The first school is based on animal movement, animal body movement, animal and bird body movement. Like for example, Kurmasana, and then Shalabhasana, or for example Kukutasana, Mayurasana, all of these things from various animals, birds, reptiles, those body movements that came in. Then, apart from this, certain asanas which were invented and used by certain saints like Goraknathasana, Matsyendrasana. So all these asanas were named after the yogis who created those asanas for very specific purposes. So this came to be, and these teachers of Hatha Yoga, they got this information from Hatha Yoga Pradipika and this one, Dattatreya Yoga Samhita, all of those books. There is a slight mention of all these Kundalini practices, energy raising, all of these things, but they predominantly concentrated on the flexibility of the body, on making the body healthier. So if somebody is teaching Hatha Yoga asanas alone, then there is no problem at all. I wholeheartedly support that. But if somebody is teaching Kundalini, then that person has to be 100% sure that they are having the wholesome knowledge, wholesome knowledge starting from Kundalini belonging to the Shakta school. The Antar Kundalini Upasana, that is the inner working on the Kundalini, has to be supported by outer worship of the Kundalini in the form of a Meru or in the form of the Guru's chakras, whatever. So these things has this balance, this knowledge, this complete information has to be there. Therefore, Kundalini Yoga cannot be taught as some agnostic, secular, religion-less philosophy or religion-less practice. That is not possible. If you are trying to do this, you translate all the names to English. That is what has been done. You know, all this base chakra and then genital chakra. So then, you know, the stomach chakra, sacral chakra, heart chakra, so many names they are giving in order to remove the religious connotation to it. But you cannot say Mooladhara as base. You cannot translate it. That does not translate. Mooladhara, the word Mooladhara itself, I can speak for half an hour about Mooladhara. Swadhisthana, Swa-adhisthana, then Swa-adhisthana. Like that I can make so many combinations and I can give explanation about Swadhisthana for half an hour. So this word itself, the naming itself, is done with so much of Vedanta in it. It is done with so much of you know, information encoded into those names. So starting with losing those names, losing the meaning of those names, losing the explanation which is encoded inside those names, which will reflect in your practice, all the way till claiming Kundalini to be the ultimate path to liberation. That too, you know, if you do Kundalini sadhana 100 times, your sadhana, your karma will go. Who told you all these things? This is there. This again I am telling you, people may get angry with me, I don't care. This whole thing was started by that yoga merchant called Paramahamsa Yogananda. Whatever else you might claim, I am not telling he is a, you know, crooked fellow or a criminal or anything like that. I am only telling he sold yoga. He sold yoga. Mark my words, nothing else. You cannot differ from this. What cost he sold it? That's not the question. He sold yoga. When the process of selling comes in, when you want to give it to many people, when you want to attract people towards spirituality, then compromises are being made. And these compromises, starting from that point, has reached a peak today, and this has to be addressed today, because if this continues, then the practice of Kundalini itself will lose all its meaning for so many sadhakas. Those who are traditionally doing Kundalini Yoga with the Sakta understanding, they cannot simply, you know, go and teach everybody. In order to get the understanding between Kundalini, Sri Chakra and the body and the cosmos, these four entities, the Kundalini, Sri Chakra, our physical body and the cosmos. So these four things, these four entities, let it be Bhavanopanishad or let it be Kalikopanishad or Meda Dikshopanishad in the Kaulachara path. So these texts, they have to be studied properly, and you cannot understand any of it without coming through the proper path of Yoga, Sankhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Uttara and Purvamimamsas, Vedanta. Without coming through this path, without coming through this step-by-step traditional learning, you cannot understand the real nature of Kundalini and any other practice that is being done. It's just like doing a ritual meaninglessly. Now, many people, many of these Kundalini practitioners, they say all the other rites and rituals are not required, they are being done without understanding. Okay, when I say puja, when I say, you know, devata worship, murti worship, they will immediately say, oh, all that's that is rites and rituals, we don't want them. Rites and rituals, we don't want them. Now let me ask that question back to you. Do you understand your own Kundalini? Do you have the sutras which point out to each chakra the nature of each chakra, the devata of each chakra? Are you realizing that devata along with the chakra, or are you simply imagining the natural energy flow that will happen in every human body to be a yogic achievement? Now, being a varat karmata, that is being a dry ritualistic person, is exactly what these Kundalini yogis, so-called Kundalini yogis, are doing, because they don't have the natural organic understanding that is required for realizing Kundalini. And also, when we do all these things, why is this in the system? If you are speaking so negatively about this Kundalini yoga, all these things, why is it in the system? It is in the system for making you do better bhakti, for making you a better karma yogi, for making you a better jnana yogi. With chitta ekagrata, it will sharpen your intelligence so that you will be able to understand more Vedantic concepts, you will be able to do contemplation on the Vedantic concept, and you will be able to achieve something through this. So, this is the purpose of the Kundalini. This is the purpose of the Raja Yoga. Similarly, purpose of Bhakti Yoga to make you more devoted towards your sadhana, to make you more blissful in order to leave everything to God and do your karma yoga properly, and to make you into a better kriya yogi, because you understand that the energy outside, energy inside are the same, so you want to worship the God inside. That will make you a better kriya yogi if you are taking that path specifically. But most bhakti schools are against all this Kundalini. There is a dichotomy there. Then that is a side note which we will speak about. Bhakti versus kriya, we will speak about that in a different video. Then, if you are a karma yogi, your sense of duty will make your vairagya more, so that you can do the rest of the three sadhanas more effectively. And finally, jnana yoga. Jnana yoga teaches you the basics that is required, the intelligent basics that is required in order to do something with understanding. If that understanding is missing, like in case of this overrated Kundalini yoga that is happening in so many places with so many names today, then the results will be disastrous and wasteful. So, this wasteful disaster of Kundalini yoga that is happening outside, that is happening as a multi-million dollar, multi-billion dollar industry, is something which is leading people into a spiritual delusion, and I don't support that. I am a Kundalini practitioner myself, and my Kundalini acharyas have told me that the entire Kundalini of all the people that existed in the world, all of the Kundalini, all of the entire world population that is existing right now, and all the Kundalini of the world population that is going to come till the end of the world, everything together, this entire Kundalini energy is just the toe ring of Ambal. The ring Kali Meenakshi wears on her toes, on her finger, leg finger, middle finger, the middle finger in the leg. That single ring contains the entire Kundalini energy of the past earth, present earth, and future earth till the end of the earth. So, this is my understanding. And from this understanding, I can see that this body is a part of the larger Prakriti. Similarly, this energy is also a part of that larger energy Prakriti. I can realize this. But if you are not realizing this as a Kundalini yogi with the proper knowledge, with the proper base understanding, then you are simply wasting your time raising the energy which is already there in your body. What is the use? There is no understanding, there is no knowledge, and there is no realization that is going to happen if you are simply practicing yoga thinking that it is going to lead you somewhere. Yoga is an abhyasa or a practice discipline in order to make you a better person, no doubt about it. And what are you going to do as a better person? Do more yoga. Okay, then do more yoga. Okay, then do more yoga. No. It is to make you realize through the other paths, for which you need the organic Hinduism, organic Sanatana Dharma, and this can only happen through the traditional gurus and not through these modern new age yoga merchants who are combining so many things together. Whatever is coming to their mind, they don't have any accountability. And finally, both the guru and the shishya are going to be like blind men who are touching the elephant and describing the elephant. So that is my take on the Kundalini Yoga. Comments and arguments are welcome. तच्चं योरा वृणीमहे गातुं यज्ञाय गातुं यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वञ्जिगातु भेषजं शन्नो अस्तु द्विपते सन्तचतुष्पते ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। नमस्ते।